Hello, how are you doing today? I'm Fiadh. I'm an energy and spirit worker and healing arts practitioner. Today, I am here, trying something a bit different. I felt really called to do some soul embodiment or higher self embodiment sessions. And this theme, I will say, we're kind of jumping into the deep end here. It's a bit highly charged, but I felt really called to work with it. Is this theme of sacred rage, of helping us deepen our capacity to experience anger and rage and use it as a tool and harness it as a force of power, as a force of healing, versus a poison, something that destroys, something that overwhelms us. So we're going to be discussing this topic, bringing in a few embodiment exercises and some creative prompts, whether you want to journal with them, create some sort of dance or movement practice with them, create whatever art you wish. We're going with the flow here. I don't want to regulate this too much. Allow yourself to experiment and play with what feels good for you. So with that being said, we're going to start. I don't think I need to explain anger and rage too much. I'll kind of use this as a method of storytelling as we move along during this practice. But first we're going to start with just a little self-check-in, bringing us back down to our body, allowing us to experience what our soul wants to come through, what our body and mind and spirit need right now. So we're starting with this check-in, just a little scan. Maybe starting with the head, tuning in, taking some deep breaths, letting out anything you're holding on to, any overthinking, just checking in, feeling your touch. What does it feel like? Down to the neck. Maybe you're holding a lot of tension in the neck. You can touch as firmly or gently as you wish to. You're just allowing the experience and what your body wants to come through. I know my throat has been a bit tight. If you need a drink of water to move your head around, shrug your shoulders. Connecting back to the body, giving yourself a little hug, allowing yourself to feel safe. A heart. Down the abdomen. Giving yourself a little lower back massage. The lower abdomen, around the sacral, the hips. You're holding a lot of tension there. Maybe you're feeling the opposite. Maybe you feel very stagnant. If you need to move a bit faster, you need to shake things out, go for it. I'm having a very overstimulated nervous system type of day, so my body's really calling me to ground and slow down. Sometimes you may need to let go of extra energy or raise yourself up. Down the legs, just connecting to the knees. Allowing yourself to feel anchored and solid in this space. Down to your connection to the floor, the support below you. Brushing off the legs. Feeling the feet. Do you show enough love to your feet? They tend to be under a lot of pressure. Down to the floor, feeling your hands, floor, maybe rolling them around. There's a spot on your body that wants extra attention. Maybe it's numb, maybe you feel a bit disconnected to it, maybe there's some pain there. I know I've been having really bad carpal tunnel. Feels very sensitive. Let's bring in some softness and some love. Settling it back down. Allowing yourself to move as you wish to. All right. That little check-in. Knowing that you can just return back to centering yourself. If there's a particular part of your body that is feeling extra sensitive, highly charged, that needs some extra care and attention to feel safe, just return back to it, anchor back into it. If something is emotionally coming up that's feeling overwhelming, you can always return back to your body and back to center. All right, and with that, we're going to start with our practice. And we're working with sacred rage, healing with rage. This is something that I don't think people have been talking about it more, but culturally, we have a history of not really knowing how to harness anger, feeling like anger is a negative. There's no such thing as negative emotion. There's a upside, downside to everything, and we're just experiencing it. Or it's something that is very destructive and used as a force for destruction. I'm trying to find my words right now. I just zoned out during that practice. Now I'm having trouble. But it has also been historically a force for good. Most changes that have happened in the world stem from anger. It is that fight response, and sometimes we need to fight. Fight for what we believe in. Fight for something that requires change. Fight for other people. Anger and rage can be healing, but it can be overwhelming, and a lot of us don't know how to channel it, to work with it, to make friends with it. As what came to me in my practice the other day when I was working with this topic, making love to your rage can be a bit seductive with it. Have some fun with this concept. Explore. Because there are things in the world to be angry about. There is injustice. There is pain. There are people who hurt others. There are people who hurt us. Anger allows us to create change. No revolution has ever happened without a seed of rage. And anyone who tries to tell you otherwise has a vested interest in keeping things the same. I will say that. So, we're going to tune in to allow us to, when we get into that space, use it, harness it, use it as our force versus it being the force that controls us. Let's start with this prompt. Prompt number 1. What does rage feel like in my body? When it rises up, how do I feel? And when we tap into that, we can anchor it and learn from it. And you don't have to be angry right now to just ask yourself this question. Just ask, what does rage feel like in my body? If you want to move and explore with this, sometimes I know a lot of people, when they feel enraged, they just need to go out and take a walk. Some people like to kickbox at the air. If you have a punching bag, go for it. Don't channel this at any other living thing. Just think about how does this rise up? What comes up when you are enraged? I know for myself, and I'm going to speak to my experience that prompted this. The other day, I was about to step into a healing. I was going to film an energy healing practice. And I read a piece of news that this is something that immediately triggered me. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm not trying to trigger anyone else. However, this is a piece of news that is classic, one of those things that will trigger my anger and my rage and my wrath immediately. And I just was overcome by it. I was I cannot be productive with this. I can't go out and show my face when I'm feeling like this. Because for me, rage feels like a chasm. It's a bit visceral, but it's almost like there is something, if you crack open my ribs, you go behind, there's this deep, dark chasm that is also this abyss that is also an animal that has snarling teeth, claws, and it wants to rip and tear. It wells up and wants to come out of me, and I'm ready to tear things down. It is all consuming. I am ready to rip everything to shreds and destroy it all. And then you feel that pain, the pain that caused the rage within it, like it's a wounded animal. So that's me. That's how I feel. You might have something that's like, this is how it physically shows up in my body. Maybe you get tense. Maybe you grit your teeth. Maybe you clench your fists. Whatever it may be. Maybe it's like mine and it's more metaphorical. Just ask yourself, how does rage feel in my body? What are the trigger, what are those early warning signs? And how can I sit with this and allow this without trying to force it down or repress it? I will also be writing down the prompts in the description below, and I'll be posting them on my social media. So don't worry if you don't remember them. Okay. So you've checked in, you've connected deeper, you've anchored your body, and you know how it shows up. You feel how this anger feels. Now, we're working with prompt number 2. What does my anger or my rage seek to destroy? This is a good question to ask if you're currently feeling angry about something. Just ask yourself, okay, what is my rage seeking to destroy? And if you can just identify something that often triggers you, what is it? If you've noticed a pattern that this is what triggers me, this is often what makes me angry. Tuning back in, what does my rage seek to destroy? If you can find the trigger, the thing that this rage wants to focus on, versus repressing it, internalizing it, shoving it back down because we don't know how to cope with it, happens a lot, but that isn't healthy. It causes disease, it causes chronic illness, it becomes directed inward with self-destructive tendencies, or it could become this unregulated lashing out at others, lashing out at people over very minor triggers. If you've ever been around people who have zero emotional regulation when it comes to anger, it's like they've never learned how to channel it, they don't know what to do when they're feeling it, it's not comfortable to be around. It feels like you're constantly walking on eggshells around them, and they don't know how to cope with it and what they're feeling, and they don't know what is causing it, so they don't know how to change it. And instead, they're just like exploding outward at all times. I know I've been around many people like that, and I made a vow to myself to not be that person for others because it's extremely stressful and exhausting to be around that. So if we can tap into what is actually the source, what is the thing that my rage wants to take itself out on, we can identify it and find a root cause. And for me, one of my common triggers is often feeling very protective. I tend to get enraged whenever I see any kind of news story or a situation where a child or an animal is affected. That's what hits me. Like, more than anything else. It might be something directed at you. Totally valid. Could be anything. Injustice, pain. Maybe it's stress. Maybe something is stressing you out so much that it's manifesting as anger. So that is the second prompt. What is my rage seeking to destroy? Just letting us sit with that for a moment. Calming itself down. Neutralizing. Getting back into center. And third prompt. Going back. And this is kind of the flip side of the coin. Very similar to the second prompt. What is my rage seeking to destroy? Second or third prompt, pardon. Yeah. What is my rage seeking to heal? There is so much healing to be found in anger. Because if we're destroying something, we want to rebuild it. And this is basically the same thing as finding a root cause, just putting another twist on it, allowing us to kind of see it through a different lens. What is my rage seeking to heal? Is it the relationship? Do you find yourself getting triggered often by a job? Is it a power dynamic? Is it for someone else? You noticing a pattern that triggers something in you? What is my rage seeking to heal? Move with this. Maybe bring a bit of fluidity into this. Accessing the breath if you want to take a few deep belly breaths. Shimmying, shaking. What is my rage seeking to heal? You can allow yourself to work with these however you wish. I personally love using dance and movement, breathwork, and poetry and writing, because that's often how I process things and bring them down to the physical the best. Sometimes some photography, painting, ceramics, whatever it may be. What does my rage seek to heal? Is it something in the world? Is it something you notice in your life? Return home to your rage. Allow it to speak to you. Allow your soul to speak to you. And with that, the last prompt. How can I find the tenderness, the gentleness in my rage? The root cause of any kind of anger that we may have always stems from some sort of pain, from a wound, from something that hurts. Sometimes we become immediately triggered into fight response so we don't have to experience the pain of it. But if you allow yourself to sit with it, to find the tenderness, to find that wound, show it some love, show it some softness, shine some light to it. There's some sort of wisdom to be found within that wound. And we can learn something from it. We can rebuild from that wound, from that pain. We don't always have to destroy. Don't get me wrong, sometimes a little bit of destruction is a good thing. Sometimes you gotta burn those bridges, cut those ties, tear things down before building. But sometimes it happens on its own. And instead of constantly focusing on that force, on that harshness, you can find the tenderness in this, where the pain lies. And we can have some empathy for ourselves, for how it shows up, and what we can create from it. What does our rage give birth to? What arises from it? Where can I find the tenderness and the gentleness in my rage? So for me, this involves giving to the causes I believe in, spending time with the causes I believe in, and showing up and defending the things that I am protective of, that trigger my rage when I see harm done. Instead, I try to give the healing to those things, essentially. I'm not phrasing this well, but hopefully you get where I'm coming from. Showing up in the world, not being overwhelmed, not feeling helpless, but instead focusing on what I can help. For you, this might be having a conversation that you need to have. Setting boundaries. Sticking up for yourself. Whatever it may be, I'm not dictating it. It's going to show up for all of us differently, but there's often going to be a lot of similarities. We're all unique individuals, but a lot of our experiences are the same. What is the tenderness? What is the gentleness? How can you show some love to the wounded animal that our rage is? Allow it to be sacred. Allow it to be healing. It is divine. It is powerful. And you are able to work with it and exist within it and not be overtaken by it. This is a practice that is a practice. It takes time. There's going to be times when you may be messy, when you may be irritable, and you may snap at someone. Over time, I think a lot of us are able to build capacity to learn how to be within it. And I will say, as with anything else, if you have more trouble than usual controlling your anger, controlling the impulses that arise from this, that's when I would suggest talking to a professional. Anger management is not a bad thing. It can just help teach you how to manage it. With that being said, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed this new little soul embodiment practice. I'm going to continue working with them, offering more creative prompts and ideas to go along with this, and discussing this theme a bit more because I find it exceptionally healing and helpful at integrating healing into my life. With that being said, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This wasn't too overwhelming or highly charged for you. If it is, take some time to enjoy a cup of hot chocolate or watch a good movie or something that will calm you down, return you back to center. With that being said, have a wonderful day.